Anime games have been popular in the community for years now. However, it's no secret that many of these games often fall short. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the anime video game epidemic, right? Like the reason why a lot of them are so bad, the reason why it seems we can't get any good anime games, right? So with that being said, let's get started and get straight into this. So we're going to be covering the good, the bad, and the ugly of anime games. Now we're going to go in the opposite order of that because I like ending on a high note, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get started with the ugly, and these are going to be pretty, well actually I don't know, one of them might be a little bit of a hot take. But for the first batch of ugly games, and the reason why we get so many bad ones is there's a lot of cash grab anime games out there. I'm not going to lie. In terms of what counts as a cash grab game, I mean, that's kind of up to the player, but to me it's obviously a lot of those fake anime games you see that aren't made by real publishers. Obviously those are just cash grabs, bro. Pretty obviously those are. And then you have there's different anime games. One of them, which isn't really an anime game but has a lot of anime collabs, like Grand Summoner, not trying to hate on it, but it has so many in-app purchases, and there's so many of these different games that have so many different drop-down menus where you could just buy a bunch of stuff and basically pay to win on a bunch of stuff. That obviously ruins lots of games and ruins lots of intake from the community, right? People aren't going to play games like that. I mean, let's just be honest. If you enjoy anime content and you want to keep seeing a bunch of anime content every single week, you know, the subscribe button's down there. It helps me out a lot and I'd really appreciate it. Also, sorry if I'm acting a bit strange. I am feeling very bad today, under the weather, my head is pounding. Anyway, that's besides the point. You know, just help me out. Leave a like, subscribe, please. You know, it's free, helps me out, and I appreciate it. But let's move on to our second batch of the ugly games. Now, here's something that might be a hot take, and for the second wave that I would consider games that ruin the anime gaming community, I would say fighting games. Now, I know a lot of people love fighting games, and I know a lot of people love anime fighting games, so you're going to have to hear me out on this one. I broke it up into two categories. We have 2D and 3D. They're roughly the same, but it used to be two-dimensional for a while, and I want to talk about games, something like Fighters, a lot of Dragon Ball games, and a lot of earlier anime fighting games that were 2D, right? There's a big problem with them, and it has a similar problem that all fighting games do, is that people get so hyped for them because it's a new anime game. And then you go to play it, and it's the same thing as the last one. And I'm not trying to, I don't like fighting games at all. So I'm not here to, it's a little bit biased maybe for me to have them here. But every single year, when a fighting game gets announced, you know what it's going to be like, yet people still overhype it. And then they play it for a week, 2 weeks, like with the newest Dragon Ball one that came out. People were playing and they're like, oh my god, this game's amazing. Then after 2 weeks, it had less than 90% of its players at the first week. I mean, these games just fall off and die, and people get so hyped for them, and they die immediately. I remember when Fighters came out, and I was like, oh man, this looks sick. Bought it. It was another fighting game. I reached the top rank in less than 2 weeks, stopped playing the game, and so did everybody else. That game lost so many players, so quickly. And there's another reason why that happens as well, but we'll talk about that later because it ties into the bad section of games as well. But it's relatively the same as 3D games. Now, a lot of these 3D games are very similar, copy and paste style games. They try to make it a little different, but for example, the JJK game, that game is just not very good. And like I said, there's other parts to these games that make them not good, but I'm going to talk about those later as well because there are other games that suffer from the same thing that they do, even more. But I think with fighting games, a lot of people build them up so much hype. And I'm not saying they're bad games, they are fun, but the reason why they ruin a lot of the anime gaming is because people do hype them up, they sell very well, and then people stop playing them immediately. They're just not great games at all to play with other people. Now, obviously, there are some exceptions, which some of them we will talk about later, but I will mention one of them. Shinobi Strikers, Boruto, I'm not going to lie, that game is very unique. The ones that do take unique spins on them, they are decent, but a lot of them kind of are just copy and paste, right, with different characters or updated graphics in Dragon Ball's case, because they've done a lot of the 2D ones, and they all play the exact same. So there are exceptions to these, obviously. Next, we move on to the bad. Now, the bad is more kind of just the mid. They're not really bad, but the saying is the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it's more like the mid. The good, the mid, and the ugly. That's kind of what we're doing. And I have 3 different categories in the bad here. So first off, we have games that try but fall short. So these, for me, are going to be a lot of the One Piece games, a lot of the older Naruto games. Some of them are good. Every now and then you'll pick them up. But the problem with them is that They try to make something and they just don't work, and that's fine. And we have games as well like Jump Force. Jump Force on paper sounds like this amazing game. They try it and it just fell short. Now, there's many different reasons it did, but it's a game that, they try to do something. So there's a lot of games that come out like this. It's not just with anime games. So obviously this is going to be in like the mid-tier section. I mean, this is with all games. Some games look sick. They come out and you're like, not really that great, right? And anime is no exception from this. There are many anime games that fall into this category as well. But then we move on to mobile games. Again, there's going to be exceptions that we may talk about later, some we may not. But the mobile games, the reason why they're kind of in the mid-tier category is because a lot of them don't really try to expand, if that makes sense. For example, there's like 2 One Piece mobile games. They're both pretty mid. They're not really great. You could play them for like a solid week or two, have a lot of enjoyment, and then most likely you're not going to want to come back. And if you do, it's not going to be on a regular basis. Like, the games don't really promote, I don't want to say replayability, but they don't promote, I don't know if nostalgia, they don't make you want to come back, right? Like, I'm just going to be honest. Then you have ones like the 7 Deadly Sins game. When that game came out, it was pretty unique. It was pretty original. People liked it, but then I don't know what happened to it. The game just slowly started to die, and that's what happens as well. And we have ones like the Black Clover mobile game, which is completely its own different thing. And honestly, it is a pretty good game, but the reason why it's like in a mid-tier section is because it's like very complicated for a mobile game. They almost did too much for a mobile game. Like, that Black Clover game should be on the computer. There's so much to do on it that it feels way too much for a tiny little phone screen to handle. So yeah, you have many different spectrums of mobile games, but most of the anime mobile games are going to go into the mid tier as well, because a lot of them can't either captivate well enough, they don't do a lot of stuff well, or they do it too well where it's like to the point where it just doesn't really work on the phone. There's many different examples of those, but we're going to move on to the third and final section of the bad or the mid, which we have lazy games. And I know that sounds stupid, that sounds kind of like games that try but fall short, but no. Lazy games, and this is a problem with a lot of the fighting games that we talked about earlier, a problem with a lot of the One Piece games and Naruto games, things like that, is these are games that literally just follow the anime story. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, oh, what else are they supposed to do? Which we have some examples of those later that I will talk about. But, for example, we talked about Shinobi Strikers earlier. Shinobi Strikers doesn't follow the anime. It's its own game. And it, that's why it at least feels like something new and refreshing. These games that just follow the exact story of what happened are so boring. And yes, they sell well because people are like, oh my god, this looks sick, you could do this, this, and that. And then they play the game and they realize, I've already watched this, what is the point of me playing it? It's like, I think that's the reason they fall short a lot. Now, they are not horrible games. They're kind of mid games because the gameplay might be cool or whatever. You get to kind of have a little bit of control in what happens, even though you know what's going to happen in these games. But I feel like they can't be great and they can't be bad because they're obviously going off a story you love, but they're not original. There's nothing original in these games. You're just doing what you've seen before. So that's why they're going to go into this section. I think that one's probably the most valid out of all of these, but we'll finally move on to the good. And there's only one category for unique games, but I'm going to mention a few and talk about why they're so great. And so we have unique games. Unique games are the way for anime games to go. There are so many different directions you could go, which is why I named a few. We have one that has absolutely taken over in terms of like console success, PC success, and in my opinion, probably the greatest anime game ever. Actually, no, it's probably the second best. Unbiased, it's probably the best, but biased, it's not my favorite. But anyway, we have Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Now, this is a game where you can play the story of Dragon Ball, and you're like, oh, that's lazy, right? But you could play your own story. You could play your own character. The game has its own story. You can play online. You can just do fights with people if you want. You can do so much in this game that it makes every other game look terrible. Like, for example, if we go back to a fighting game, like Fighters, for example, that game feels incomplete when you look at Xenoverse, because you've got Xenoverse, which is not only 3D fighting, but you can do those one-on-one fights. You can do team fights. You can do story fights. You can do your own story. You can make your own character. You can do everything you want in that. It's like those other games that come out, they are lacking in so much. Xenoverse set the standard very, very high for anime games, and it should be, because Xenoverse is a fantastic game, and more anime games should try to be like it. Like, it is the golden standard, in my opinion, for anime games, one of the greatest anime games of all time. Whether you like Dragon Ball or not, you could enjoy Xenoverse 2. That's how good of a game it is. Next, I would like to do a fan-made game just to show how, I guess, easy it is to make a good game, but obviously most anime games are just cash grabs, whether they end up being good or not, or being in the cash grab category or not. A lot of them are there to just make money, to be honest. But I'm going with a fan game on Roblox. I'm going with Anime Adventures. You could have gone with any of them, honestly, but Anime Adventures is kind of like the the big papa of them all. So with Anime Adventures, it was a game that was popping for a very long time, and it's a tower defense with anime characters from across all different anime. Now I get what you're saying, like, oh, that seems kind of hard for them to do. Well, there's two solutions. One, you could just do a tower defense with one anime. Imagine a Dragon Ball tower defense. Dragon Ball has lots of characters. Naruto tower defense. One Piece tower defense. You've got thousands of characters in One Piece. You could make that easily. Why not? That could be such a successful game. People love tower defenses. They play them all the time. And it doesn't even have to be a tower defense. Like, now we can go into my second point about this being like, Crunchyroll owns the rights to a lot of these. Like, people don't know Crunchyroll does a lot of the video games. Like, I believe they do like the My Hero games and stuff like that. And some other ones as well. Maybe JJK, I don't know. Why doesn't Crunchyroll just be like, hey, why don't we put these all in one game? I know they tried with Jump Force and it failed, but Jump Force was actually a great idea, just did not succeed, right? But like, why don't we put them all in one game, right? But actually, let's take more time to develop the game and it could be good. Now, I'm sure they want to go for something like Xenoverse 2 to get that bar really high. But why not just make a tower defense? Make your own. It doesn't have to be on Roblox. Just make an actual tower defense with multiple anime in it. Why not? They could do it. Just look at Bloons. Go get Bloons, get some, what's it called? Inspiration. And be like, all right, let's make one of these with the anime characters. Why not? That would be a successful game. Or you could do it with the games we're about to talk about next, which is 3 mobile games, actually, that are pretty big pioneers of anime games. We have Dokkan Battle, Dragon Ball Legends, and Ninja Storm Blazing. Imagine these, but with, like, a bunch of different anime. You telling me people wouldn't play that? No, they would! Especially mobile games. I see how people could think it would fail, like Jump Force did on the console, but if you're telling me you could play Dokkan Battle, but with multiple anime in it, dude, everybody would be playing that. Like, that would be the most played game on the App Store. I don't understand why they don't take advantage of this. And even if not, why doesn't any other anime look at, hey, okay, Dragon Ball has Dokkan Battle, Dragon Ball Legends, and Xenoverse. Maybe let's copy one of those games and make them good instead of, oh, let's just make another fighting game. Like, I don't understand why these other anime and these other companies, whoever owns the rights to them, I don't understand how they don't look at the success these other games have brought in and thought, oh, let's just go with those. Because if you look at the highest selling games, Dokkan Battle's up there, Xenoverse is up there. The only one to me that's, which I get they're going off the number one, which is Ninja Storm. I don't think Ninja Storm's a great game. You just follow the story and then you just fight, and the fighting's the same every time, no matter which characters you play. I don't really get that one. I think that's kind of in a mid-tier game, honestly. But that's the most successful one. So I think they see that and they're like, oh, we got to make a fighting game. But they don't see Xenoverse right under it. They don't see Dokkan Battles right under it. And even the fan-made game, Anime Adventures, that made millions of dollars a month. And that was made on Roblox. Like, I don't understand why they don't look at the success of these other games and how much these games keep replayability, which means you can make more money off them and make these games. Like, I know there's somebody making a mod for Dokkan Battle where you can put Bleach characters in it. Why doesn't Bleach have a Dokkan Battle? I know Bleach has Bleach Brave Souls, but let's be honest, that game sucks. Okay, it's nothing like Dokkan Battle. It's nothing like Legends. It's nothing like Ninja Storm Blazing. Like, it would be so easy to make good games, but they don't. And at the end of the day, I think the reason it comes down to this is because they just want money. A fighting game is easy for them to make, because if they are going to add a story, which a lot of them do, like for example Fighters, you just put a story that's already in there. Now I get Fighters has original stuff with Android 21, but for the most part, it's not really original. They add one character, who cares? Like, they make it look new, and it's not really new. And they do it with all these anime games, like the JJK game. You look at it, oh, this looks sick. You get into it, it's like, I've played games like this 1,000 times before. And maybe I enjoy them, sure. But is it worth paying for? No, it's not. Like, honestly, if you have it, or if it were available, just get Ninja Storm 4 and mod it with JJK characters, right? Like, something like that. Like, what is the point of buying all these other games? Like, and they're the same thing over and over and over again when you have games like Xenoverse 2. That's what I don't understand. I feel like if you made a game like Xenoverse 2, which I know they're making Xenoverse 3, but imagine with any other anime, it would make so much money. There's a reason Xenoverse 2 is one of the most successful and one of the most popular anime games, if not the most popular anime game of all time, because it's the best. And then you look at mobile games. Arguably the greatest mobile game of all time is Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. But yet all these other mobile games that want to make these stupid cash grab gotchas, because all they look at with Dokkan is it's a gotcha. They don't look at the gameplay. They don't look at the love and care that goes into it. They don't go into the system of how the game works. Now, some of them try, like we talked about earlier. Like the Black Clover one tries, but it's like, anyway, this whole conversation, I could rap? I could rant about this forever. I was going to say rant and rat and yap. But overall, the reason why we don't get good, unique anime games is because they are all for money. They are. Like, now I know that sounds stupid because most games are made for money. But putting a little love into it's going to take you a long way. I mean, look at Dokkan, dude. We just had the 11th year anniversary. How many other games are making an 11-year anniversary, even on console? Not many, dude. Not many people are going back to games 11 years later. And Dokkan still is. It still has players on it. I feel like that just shows how little effort is going into these games, because these communities, like the anime community, is so strong. If you gave it something to feed on, it's going to feed on it for years. But they just don't give it to us because they just want the quick money. And the fighting games sell incredibly well. But again, we all know they fall off pretty quickly. I don't know. It sucks. I really wish they'd make another game. And now I'm just yapping, repeating the same thing over and over again. So I need to end the video here. If you guys enjoyed this video and just want to see more anime content, you know, I do tier list, anime reviews, and then we have like just fun conversations like this on Sunday. Leave a like, subscribe. I hope to see you guys in another video. Peace.